about that time for Coffee Talk on this morning. And guess what? I want you to know, get ready to hold on to your seats, man. It's going to be something phenomenal. Well, let's pray. Father, we thank you for last night's sleep and slumber on today and how you have allowed us to wake up on today, giving us the activities of our limbs. I pray on today that you would allow these who would come across these airways to give us what you have downloaded in them so that we become better fathers, mothers, we become better communities, cities, better ways to do. So we do the things and bring in the most name of Jesus Christ we pray.
Man. Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, good morning, everyone. And every day we rise is a great day to be alive. And the Seven Cities Forums of Hampton Roads and the CBC Radio Media Network presents Portsmouth Coffee Talks morning show. My name is James Lim Overton. I'm here with fellow hosts Leah Drake Stith and Thomas the Colonel Chapman. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
And of course, we're waiting for our guest, who is attorney and Virginia State Delegate Don Scott. And I'm sure he'll be on shortly, but I will probably mute myself and give him a call and see if he's having problem getting on. So host, you all can continue on.
So how are you, Colonel? How was your weekend?
It was a good weekend. Busy as usual.
Busy as usual.
Busy as usual, and that's a good thing. Yeah, a lot of things going on in the world. I see where I got to ask Don, where his governor is asking to reinstore this abortion debate again.
Oh,
yeah,
I saw that as well.
Yeah. I guess he's figured he was trying to go moderate and trying to, he done fooled the American people. And so he's got to go hardcore because it's, since Trump's out there. So he's got to go hardcore and show his true colors.
Well, he's vying for that title to run for president. So he's going to have to out Trump DeSantis. He's going to have to out Trump DeSantis in order to get into the game. So
yeah. And then he had that proposal to put all his money in behavioral health or mental health. But I wonder when the American people are going to, the people of Virginia are going to figure out he hadn't done nothing as governor.
Nothing at all.
Nothing.
Exactly.
Proposals don't mean nothing.
Well,
until you get something done.
So hopefully the people will pay attention and really watch what he's doing.
Yeah.
And not let it sneak up on them, how we usually do. We sit back and things sneak up on us, and then we realize what has taken place.
Yep. Well, the only thing I can say he's done, he started tearing down stuff from the inside.
Exactly.
Putting all these Confederates in office, in these state jobs. They're basically destroying the fabric of the state of the Commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
So his time is coming.
Oh, yeah. But I do have to say that we had a lovely swearing in ceremony for the new city council people in the city of Portsmouth. It was well attended, very diverse crowd that was present, and everything was just done in a positive nature. And hopefully that positivity will show itself throughout as the new council take their seats. It was a nice event.
Good. Was cameras there?
Was who?
Cameras. The journalists, the news station.
No, I didn't see any journalists there.
Okay, that's why I guess DeAndre wasn't there then.
I never know. No, there are no journalists there. No.
Okay,
it's funny that they weren't there for that because it was on the news leading up to it.
It really was. It really was
talking about the date and everything. But I called Don Scott and Delegate Don Scott and got his voicemail, so I left a message. So we'll just see. Maybe he's a little late getting on or having a problem getting on. So we'll just continue talking. But Leah, you brought up the swearing in. You know, I saw it. I wasn't able to be there in person, but I saw it. Okay, looks like he's coming in.
Look like he's coming on now.
Okay. Okay, he's connecting, so we'll have him on soon, everybody, out there in radio land and Facebook land. All right, now we have him, Delegate
Good
Don
morning.
Scott. How you doing this morning?
Good morning. I'm well. How you guys doing? You
We're
know, when
doing
you
great.
are
Thanks
when you're
for
not in
agreeing
your
to be
own,
on. Now, of course, our special guest is Attorney and Delegate Virginia State Delegate Don Scott from the 80th District. And you know, Don, to start this, we have a lot to talk about, but to start out, you've been there since 2020, and now you are the minority leader. I think that's right, 2020, but you're the minority leader now. So tell us about that role and the advantage now, because you've been doing a bang up job since you've been there out of that position. So tell us about the advantage of being the minority leader in the House.
first of all, thank y'all for having me this morning. I see Ms. Stiff got her coffee. I had to get my coffee straight. I'm I'm not at home. I'm sitting in a hotel room actually looking out over the harbor. I'm in DC. I'm gonna get to your question. I'm in DC today. I was invited to be a guest at the final January 6th Insurrection Committee hearing today.
Oh,
So I'll
wow.
be in the Congress
What a blessing.
to be in the room to find, to get the final say. And so it's always a blessing to be in the room. I think this will be a historic day.
Yes.
But you're correct. I was elected. I ran in November. I was elected November 2019. Was sworn in January 8th, 2020. It's an easy day to remember because that's my younger brother's birthday. That don't tell him. But when he was a kid, he used to pee in the bed. He okay right now. But I love him because anytime you have to all sleep in the same bed and all that when you're a kid, and we used to boy, but he stopped eventually. But that was easy. I give him a hard time. But when you grow up like that, you're really close to your family, so it's easy to remember January 8th because that was the day I was sworn in. And man, this January 8th, which will be a few days before we start session, will be the end of my third year as an elected official. So I think it's been a pretty interesting ride so far. So in 3 years, I guess in about 2.5 years, I became the minority leader of the House of Delegates, the Democratic Caucus leader. And it's been fun. We got a lot on our agenda to do. We have to try to continue to make change, even though we're in the minority now, and we have to hold the governor accountable. And that's kind of the way I see my role is to be when he's correct, which is rare, I applaud it. When he's wrong, I call it out.
He's correct, which is rare. I applaud it.
One of the things that I've been most disappointed in about the governor is that he has, had chosen to go and campaign with this avowed racist in Maine during the campaign time, and went to go and campaign with these people who denied the elections. And I think all of those people lost, but he went and campaigned with those people. One of the guys in Maine said that people of color are his enemy, and when he sees his enemy, he shoots his enemies.
Mm,
And that was the guy, the former governor of Maine, who
yes.
said that, who was running again. And I'm always wondering, like, how do people who are decent at your core, how do you go and excuse how you would go be with someone like that? And so that is the issue. That was the issue that I had. But I think we have a lot of good things that we can get done this session. We have a lot of opportunities. And as a leader, I think I'm in a position to help influence that, especially being from Portsmouth, because I think we have a lot of challenges in Portsmouth. Really, like a lot of cities and areas that have been historically underfunded, we're landlocked, but we also have some opportunities. And I think it's going to be rare that Portsmouth has this type of opportunity over the next, if we're looking down over the horizon for a long period of time between myself and Senator Lucas, who's the president pro tem, we have some influence in Richmond that probably hadn't been seen in a while for Portsmouth. The issue is, we also have a governor who's doing everything in his power to make sure that Louise and I don't have any influence because we hold him accountable so often. And so hopefully we'll be able to navigate that. And the thing about it, hopefully, is he'll only be here a few years. I think 2025 he's gone. So he can't run again.
Right.
So he can't run again consecutively.
Right.
So that'll give us an opportunity to do. Can I ask y'all a question? I know y'all on screen because I'm in a hotel room. Am I washed out on my lighting?
No, you're fine. You're coming through
Okay.
nicely. But
Okay,
Don,
thank you.
let me just say
Yeah.
one thing. That's quite a feat to become minority leader in such a short period of time. How did you accomplish that?
Well, I think how did we accomplish that is the way I look at it. I think we have, first of all, if you're from Portsmouth and you live in Portsmouth, you know how to rumble. You know how to get your point across. You know how to get your point across. And, we want to see impactful change. And I think while my colleagues asked me to step up this way was because we had lost the majority. And I think folks wanted a different, just a different voice, even though we're all still on the same team. And sometimes, it's like a good team. Sometimes, somebody else bring in the backup quarterback. The backup quarterback is almost the most popular player in the city. The backup quarterback, especially when the team lose. So I guess so. That's the way I came in. And so my thought process is just to try to do the best job that I can to get the majority back. And then hopefully if we get the majority back, I'll have an opportunity to be considered by my colleagues to be the Speaker of the House.
Mm.
That would be historic as well.
Indeed, it would be.
There's nobody who looks like any of us that's ever been the Speaker of the House in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
No, when I was up there with Ken, we had old Philpott up there, and he was a character. So that would be a great feat to see you in that position as well.
Yes.
And as for your governor, we know he's just trying to out Trump DeSantis, and he's just trying to position himself for a presidential run. So
yeah,
well, he spent a lot of time outside of the
you all
state
have to
campaign.
contain him during this session.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I, try to tell folks is that of all of the bills, and we talk about thousands of bills that we look at, consider, and then that eventually make it to the floor to be voted on, about 80% of those bills are voted on unanimously. So when you start talking about the differences that we have, they're really about, some big issues that we disagree on. But for the most part, the day-to-day running of the Commonwealth, there is a lot of agreement.
Yeah.
And so when folks start talking about we want bipartisanship, 80% of the bills that we vote on are almost unanimous. And then you have another 15% of those bills that are bipartisan, which means that at least one person from the other party voted on it, voted for it. And then there's that 5% or so that are just straight party line vote. And that is because we have different priorities around telling women what to do with their bodies. We don't think you should. They think you should.
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm married to a strong Black woman. And I cannot, you know what I mean? She is an entrepreneur, a businesswoman in her own right. She's a dentist, but she's a businesswoman. She's running a business at that dental practice. And one of the things that I've learned as I've grown in this marriage of 17 years, I'm not going to try to tell her what to do, especially not with her own body and healthcare. And so, when you respect your partner and respect what they bring to the table, you would not dare try to tell them what to do with their own bodies. And one of the things is, I don't want anybody sitting in a conference room or in Richmond making any healthcare decisions for anybody. I think I'm gonna have to have another knee surgery in March. And the last thing I want is some dudes up in Richmond to tell me go in the medical room with my when my orthopedic surgeon and try to give him direction on what I can or can't have done for me and myself and in consultation with my family. So I think we have to, we have to call this out. Really, this is about disrespecting women and disrespecting the dignity that they have and the decision making that they have and the autonomy that they should have. And I think the Republicans, the MAGA Republicans, because they extreme, they've already introduced, at least one of them has already introduced a total ban on abortion with no exceptions. I think
That's
folks
right.
need to
No
understand this.
exceptions.
No
Yes.
exceptions. There is another one who says she's going to introduce a ban. And so, right now in Virginia, we're fine. We don't need to do anything. Let's continue what we're doing. We're keeping the medical professionals in charge. We're keeping people who have to make that very tough decision. We're keeping it within their family, and they get to make those decisions in consultation with their families, and so and themselves. So hopefully it'll stay that way. There are a lot of things. The governor just came out with a budget. I was at the budget hearing on Thursday. Yeah, on Thursday, and it's what you would expect from a person who thinks that corporations are more important than
Oh, yeah.
everyday hardworking people.
Mm-hmm.
So he put in a budget that cuts the corporate tax rate in Virginia. Virginia's already better than average with our corporate tax rate. He wants to cut our corporate tax rate further, giving hundreds of millions of dollars away back to corporations. We have a multi-billion-dollar surplus, which gives us an opportunity to fix some historic problems in Virginia around dilapidated schools,
Right.
around our mental health issues that we need to address, to put some resources there, to put some resources around getting our teachers up to the national average,
Mm-hmm.
which is what he promised and hadn't done. He's given one-time bonuses. He did give increases. We did. The legislature votes on the final budget. We did pass an historic education package last session, and I need people to understand. You may see the governor cutting ribbons at projects and touting stuff, but that budget bill was Ralph Northam's, Governor Northam. Man, we miss him. Governor Northam's introduced budget. So the way budgets work during a biennium is that the governor introduces a budget, and then the House and Senate then put in budget amendments, I know or not, or remove stuff, and then they confer both sides, and then they come to the body and vote. What we voted on last cycle was the version that Governor Northam had introduced with some changes. The new governor, Youngkin, made some changes, and both sides, both bodies introduced some changes, some that I didn't like, some that I liked, but overall, the budget was a good budget, and that's what budgets are. It's just like you got to eat your vegetables. There's some things that you don't like in the budget, but you have to do the things necessary. Eat your vegetables and move on. Eat your carrots and your green beans, and maybe you got some cheesecake up in there too. But the budget was a good budget, and so hopefully, other than a couple of things that some people didn't like. But for the most part, matter of fact, one or two things in there I didn't like, but that's just how it's going to be in government. You're going to have to compromise to get some things done.
Don,
yes, sir.
yes, let me give you this disclaimer for the folks out there in Facebook land and on the radio and everything, because the views stated on this program are the host and our guests and no one else. So we can do that disclaimer. So that'll keep us out of Facebook jail.
Out of Facebook jail. These are my views.
Yes.
They did not tell me to do this.
Yes, exactly. So it's interesting, we talk about this this governor, and I call him this Confederate governor, because when he goes out and campaigns for these far right insurrectionists and people that don't care about people that don't look like them, it tells you who they are when they're have the cameras out. And you have to look at it that this Confederate governor espouses the same views that the old Confederacy has. And I say that is and you can look up the views of the Confederacy and put two and two together, which they don't want to hear. And you talk about what he has done. He has done, in my opinion, nothing positive for the Commonwealth. And he has spent all his time trying to put his national persona up so he can run for presidency and try to fool. He's already fooled the Commonwealth or the state of Virginia voters, but he wants to fool the rest of the people in America so he can take his red sweater to the White House. And I'm thinking that hoping that does not happen, because we don't want that to happen. We just got to put our countdown clock on, and he'll be gone in 25, I believe. And then
right.
Yeah, go ahead.
No, I said, I mean, you're right. He has spent a lot of time. I didn't think it possible that a first-year governor, within a few months of getting into office, would spend almost all of his time outside of the Commonwealth campaigning for folks all over, spending all of his energy, and he lost almost all those races. He was like his winning percentage is like 10%. I mean, do not campaign. Hey, bro, don't come campaign for me. All right, stay where you at. All right,
he's running right in line with that guy who was in the White House, huh? They're sharing that time factor.
I think he might have been worse than Trump's record. I mean, I'm not sure, but his record might have been worse than Trump's, and that's bad.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think he has what he's tried to do with the history education standards. He actually, his folks took Martin Luther King out of K through
Yes.
5 education curriculum. Like, I don't know anybody, conservative, hard right, extremist, that doesn't think Dr. King is someone worthy to be studied and learned, and by our children to understand the impact that he had on America. You may not agree with everything that he said. I can get that, y'all. You know, some people have some different crazy views, but he is definitely a person in history that we should be elevating. And he added, folks, you know, he added some Confederate stuff to people, some things he added, talking about we need to have a quote unquote, I'm using their words, I read the report, a balanced approach to teaching the Civil War and Jim Crow and the Holocaust, like the balanced approach, you know, to that. There is no balanced approach. Like, you didn't teach both sides of the Holocaust. You know, it was wrong, and it was evil, and that's what you talk about. You know, slavery was wrong, it was evil, it was inhumane, and that's what. And there, he doesn't want to talk about slavery because he doesn't want to talk about the legacy of slavery today and the impact that it has. And so when you start talking about Portsmouth and some of the other areas that we have, it's no wonder that we would have you know, some of the areas of the Commonwealth where there's been underinvestment in Black communities, that we're going to have more poverty. And poverty, you don't need to be, you know, you can talk to any sociologist. More poverty leads to more deviant behavior, and in a lot of communities. And so that's what's going on in many respects here.
But you know what? And you said a mouthful when you say, when these folks come up and say, I want a balanced approach. What that is, when you peel back the onion and look at that balanced balanced approach, I have to call it out like it is for those who want this balanced approach and also want to tilt that towards what we call that CRT tainted education. I call it out and saying, just, sir, you are a racist, or you, that group that wants to do that, you are racist. And this is, I know you just, before you come to office, before you get before the camera, take off the hood and tell me, tell me to my face what you believe, and don't come out with this, tiddly-winny thing, nice approach. Just tell it like it is, and people are going to see it. They see it. And yeah.
Well, one of the things that I see that people who are very sophisticated do, and I can't call a man, I don't know if the person is racist. I'm gonna go like James Baldwin used to say, I don't know if America hates me, but I can tell by their policies if they hate me. You know what I mean? And so I don't know if the unions, he went all down the line with every single thing and says, I don't know if they hate me, but I can tell you these policies tell me that they hate me.
Yes.
And so when you are doing things to try to call out the other and make Black people, like if you talk about like this whole CRT boogeyman that they created,
Yes.
you know, and you try to create this and have people think that they're somehow now the victim and that they've been aggrieved and that the slavery's impact on them is harder than the people than the people who bear the legacy of that. You know, you have a problem. And hopefully, you know, I see they're very sophisticated in how they communicate
Oh, yeah.
about these things. It goes back to Lee Atwater and the Southern
That's
strategy.
right. That's
How do
right.
you how do you create grievances
Yeah.
among those folks to make them hate the other? In this case, it's Black people or Latinos or LGBTQ people. You always exploit it or those grievances, and you say, you know, and then you say you're doing it out of love. You're doing it because based on your faith and your values, and it just doesn't add up. And so we have to call out that disconnect sometimes. You know, I've never challenged anybody's faith. If they say that's what they believe, so
That's what they
be it.
believe.
None of my business.
That's
But
right.
I think I have a duty to call out the differences in what you say you subscribe to and what you're actually doing. And if they don't connect and they don't match up, then we have to ask the question, is that true about what you say in your faith? Because I don't think I would be out campaigning for an avowed racist if I believe what I said I believe. I don't think I would be out campaigning for someone who was advocating those January 6th insurrectionists and denying the election if I believed in the Constitution of the United States of America and thought that we should be moving forward as a country and not looking backwards because some crazy president who shouldn't have won in the first place won, and now he's whining for the next. It's we 2 years into since he lost, and he's
Yes.
still whining
Still whining.
about how he won the election. Man, move
Mhm.
on. You got beat and dragged, and now you got these folks breaking because you lying to them. And so we have to call that out. I mean, but it's so this is what I want folks to understand. We don't learn to say anything else this morning. We have to vote, y'all.
Yes.
If you look at the numbers, African American voting is down to unheard of turnout numbers, so low. We have, I don't know what's going on. We have forgotten that the greatest weapon that we have is that ballot. And they know it. That's why they spend all their energy. Our opponents know it because they want us not to vote. They spend all their energy trying to suppress the vote, make it difficult to vote, make it harder to vote. They're not trying to make it easy. The Democrats, when we had that 2 years, and that's why I'm so disappointed in. And I think that's probably why a lot of our colleagues thought that we should have kept the majority, because we know, as we just saw, this is a swing state, but we
It
lean
is.
more blue. We lean more, let's do the right thing, than we lean crazy. All right. We
Exactly.
don't lean MAGA crazy. We got them out there, but we lean more, let's do the right thing. Even the business community, they know it does no good to be talking about what bathroom children are using, the 5
Exactly.
children in school who might be having gender questioning or whatever. Those 5 or 10 children in school, they know it doesn't matter what bathroom those kids use, and you're gonna make them the boogeyman in schools. They know that when North Carolina tried to do the same thing and pass that bathroom bill, they lost hundreds of millions of dollars in revenue that companies pulled out. They know that it does no good to isolate and try to ban books, which is what some of our Republican colleagues are doing now. They introduce bills to ban books, and put books on a list, and that's this kind of thing, and trying to squash academia. So we know that they can be extreme, and they're gonna do some very extreme things. Just watching this next session, I'm telling you, this upcoming session, they're going to introduce bills to outright ban abortion with no exceptions. Some of them they're gonna come back and try to sound reasonable. Now look, that was crazy, but I got a bill that's gonna ban it only for this amount of time or that amount of time. Now, I don't think we have a medical doctor in the House, right? I think we have one in the Senate. All right. These people, these are decisions that are best left not to dudes like me and the majority of these other old dudes on the Republican side. The Democratic caucus, y'all, is about empowering everybody. We have the most diverse caucus. You walk in our caucus, it look like America.
Oh,
It look
yeah.
like you walk in their caucus.
It's like rural America.
It's like, no, because I got
1800
folk from the
America.
country. I got folk from the country. It just looked like a different thing in America. We got a lot of folk in the country, y'all. Y'all need right out there. We got a lot of black folk in the country, but
No.
these folks look different. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I just want to interrupt you. We're going to make the transition from the radio for a few more minutes on Facebook Live. So I want to thank all the listeners on WGPL 1350 AM for joining us this morning. And please join us. Well, we're not going to be here the day after Christmas. So enjoy your Christmas, but join us going into the new year, I believe. But anyway, we're now on Facebook Live, and we're with attorney and Virginia State Delegate Don Scott.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I'm gonna tell y'all, because I'm not in my environs, man, my power, it might hold up. I'm on my Wi-Fi card, y'all. You know, my Wi-Fi, because in this hotel, the broadband, what took me a minute to come on last time,
Yeah.
broadband wasn't acting right in this hotel. So I had to jump on my Wi-Fi card, and I got about 17% left. So I'm gonna let it wear down with y'all. If I drop off, that's what happened. Y'all close me out. But I'm
So,
thankful
Don,
and blessed to be here. Thank y'all this morning.
so you're getting ready to go over to the final session for the January 6th committee. That should be
The final hearing.
amazing.
Yeah, it should be. You know, I wanted to be there for a couple of reasons. Number one, we Nancy Pelosi is leaving,
Yes,
closing out. You
yes.
know, she's not leaving Congress, but she's leaving the leadership.
Right,
So now
right.
she's gonna be like the OG, the
Exactly,
consigliere. She
exactly.
like the wartime consigliere for our brother Hakeem Jeffries,
Mhm.
the new minority leader, incoming minority leader in the Congress. Who, you know, it's funny that I'm the first, and I don't make a big deal out, but I think I'm the first leader of the caucus, because Chanel Herring from my good friend from Alexandria, she was the majority leader, but Eileen Fillicone was the speaker. She was the majority leader, and so really the speaker is the head of the party, and Chanel ran the caucus, and so now I'm the head. I think I'm the first African American head of any party in the House or Senate. And Hakeem Jeffries is now the minority leader coming, and he'll be the head of the congressional caucus. So I'm hopeful
Right.
that I have an opportunity to chat with him a little bit as well, because that's historic. And if they win back the Congress in 2023 in that election, I'm sorry, in 2024,
4.
he would then take over as the speaker. So I'm excited about the opportunity, because that election in 24 that's going to be a huge election. That's going to be,
It
that's
is.
presidential, congressional, it's going to be everything. And so right now, I think, the president and the Congress have not gotten the credit that they deserve for all of the work that they've done. I mean, you talk about the infrastructure bill, billions of dollars in the new infrastructure, taking care of our bridges and our roads, investing in our schools. A lot of the reason that Virginia is so healthy. I mean, I just need people to understand this. The state of the Commonwealth is great as far as our financial position. We're in an unprecedented financial position. And so the idea needs to be, the governor thinks we should give the money back to what he calls people who've been overtaxed. We should give the money back. So he wants to do a big tax cut, give a whole lot of money back to people that don't want it or need it. People like you guys who are very wealthy, retired. And and he wants to get the money back to big corporations who don't need it. All right. We want to make it easier for people who are hardworking, working every day. People like my mother, who was, had 6 kids, went to work every single day, worked her tail off, and felt like sometimes she was on a hamster wheel trying to get ahead. We want to help those folks we want to reward hard working Virginians. He wants to reward corporations that come and go here. And we have a great attraction here in Virginia, and it is our people. We have to continue to invest in education, invest in training. I talked to a business owner, a large company, Newport News Shipbuilding. They're expecting to have, over the next several years, they're going to need 20,000 skilled workers, pipe fitters, welders, shipbuilders, and they're projecting a shortage. We need to this is not the time that you cut. This is the time that you invest. And
Mhm.
so if you are a person who came from a, I guess what he called himself, a venture capitalist or whatever, you see government as a business, you cut it and you take your money and you run.
Yes,
You know,
yes.
and if you are a person that like me, who knows that government can do great things, they can hurt you, but it can also help you.
Exactly.
And if you believe that government can also help in some areas, because a business is not going to make the investments that government is supposed to make for all of us. A business is not going to build new roads and new plumbing and new water and make sure our water is safe. Businesses, they acting for on behalf of shareholders for different reasons. Small businesses is what we need to be invested. We need to
Mhm.
incentivize small businesses, and we need to make sure we have the workers trained so we can attract those companies and those businesses here to Virginia. That's what I've been our formula. We need to promote veterans. I'm a veteran. I see brothers, Army veteran. Thank you for your service. I mean, we need to promote those veterans staying here. And one of the things that I will never take a back seat on. My grandfather was a veteran. He fought in World War One. He went in and he was like 17 years old. All right. He enlisted early. My grandfather. My father fought in Korea. I was in the Persian Gulf. I
Mhm.
take a back seat to nobody about my investment and my ownership of America. And I think
Mhm.
a lot of times people try to feel like, well, y'all the other. My blood, sweat, and tears is here. And my
That's
people that
right.
I don't know that came over here in slavery,
Mhm.
we invested here too. So
Exactly.
we got to stop acting like America belongs to somebody else. America is us. This is the promised land for us. And so one of the things that we need to do is we need to be calling out and making sure that our veterans, all veterans, have an opportunity to stay in Virginia and get the workforce training that they need, get the job support that they need, get the entrepreneurial support that they need if they want to start their own business. That's what we should be doing, and not trying to give tax breaks to large corporations that don't need them. Dominion don't need a tax break. I love Dominion. I've been working with Dominion since I've been elected to get them to hire more veterans, talk to them about hiring more veterans. They have, in this last year, 20% of every new hire for Dominion. Matter of fact, over 20, I think it was 21. Every new hire was a veteran. They have a diverse workforce in their C-suite. A lot of people don't know this, and I'm just telling you, this is what I'm asking. They're the model for corporations.
Mhm.
In their C-suite, their general counsel is an African-American man. He's from Chesapeake, Virginia. All right. Their president of Dominion Energy Virginia, he's an African-American man.
Yes. Yes.
So, a lot of people like to I want to reward and congratulate those people who have created some diversity and
Mhm.
some equity in their C-suite and the leadership of their suite. The governor took the word equity out of his, Governor Northam created a diversity, equity, and inclusion officer,
Right.
right? So what did the governor do? He said, I don't like that word, equity. I'm gonna change it. So he changed it to diversity, opportunity, and inclusion or some mess. You know what I mean? Not understanding that equity is about how do you put people in a position to succeed. I might have the same talent as someone else, but because I didn't get the opportunity and get in that place, it takes a little bit a larger investment. The person that has the same talent in me may be exposed to something different, and he may only need $1 to get what he needs, but I
Mhm.
might need $10 to get
Exactly.
to what I need. And when I get that $10, I'm going to get it done, right? The governor thinks, no, you give them both $1 and you hope it happens. You give them the opportunity. Whereas opposed to equity says you put people in a position to succeed. You can't tell me that it's equitable to give, a person who is in poverty the same thing that you would give someone who comes from a wealthy background. You have to measure them up. You have to what they call means tested, right? If you
Mhm.
have the means to do it, then you don't need the government's help. But if you don't have the means, then you help and get them where they need to be so that they can succeed. And you don't make that help. It's not welfare, it's an investment. And I
Mhm.
think what a lot of folks do, you know, a lot of families don't like to talk about that they needed some help to get ahead. And some of us, we know we've been blessed. I know I have. Some of it has been help. Some of it has been, uh, I'd say, providence. because I know that, you know, but for God, I wouldn't be here. This got to be God for me to be where I am. But I think some people think, you know, that they so smart that they did it on their own, and they believe that, you know, I always say about the governor, he was born on third base and think he hit a triple. You
Oh,
know,
yeah.
dude, you were put in a position where you were going to succeed, and a lot of other folks. And now, when you're worth $400 million, you have a hard time listening to somebody like me. You're like, who the heck is he to tell me that I'm wrong? I'm worth $400 million. Well, you wrong, bro. You know what I mean? Just because you're a billionaire or a millionaire, 100 million, that doesn't make you better or smarter than anybody. And I think
Exactly.
we tend to give people credit based on what they have in their pocket. And there are a lot of dumb people with money. All right.
And they have shown us time and time again, Don.
And there are a lot of wise people who may not have those resources, but they're wise and they're smart. And so
Exactly.
we got to stop measuring people based on what we think they have in their pocket.
Hey, Don, let me get this in, and this is a local issue, and I know you all try to stay out of local issues, but some issues locally are, are tied. Some local issues are tied to state, you know, the state voting on it, like the recall. You know, that issue came up last year, and what I want, the reason I'm asking this, I want you probably to explain that bill that came up last year, and I think they presented it again this year in the legislative package. That it's just a way of sort of, well, I don't want to say controlling, but making it, you know, giving it some teeth, you know, if you're going to, you know, recall. It's not so much like it's changing it to the point where we can't do it. It's just giving it some teeth. So can you explain, you know, the difference? I don't know if it comes, it might get shot down again, you know, if Tim Anderson has anything to do with it.
Yeah, I think what the bill was trying to do was, and I know there are some people who are invested on both sides, and I think there are some people who believe, and I'm just going to be blunt, some people believe that this change is coming about because certain people are being recalled right now.
Right.
And so they're trying to change the recall process in the middle of the recall. What I can tell you is, you know, and I'm gonna definitely make sure that this is not the case. The bill might not take effect until, even if we get it passed, it may not take effect until July, or it might not take effect until the following year. That's just how sometimes the bills are written. But what the bill would do is put us on par with every other locality. Portsmouth is unique in the recall ordinance that they have in the city charter, which provides for a lot of different recalls. And as you know, y'all been around here a lot longer than me.
Oh,
We the
yes.
king, we recalled a mayor twice. He was the first mayor in the history of the country to be recalled twice. We recall folks. But I think what we're trying to do is put us in line with the same language that the state uses, which requires some malfeasance and not just you don't like what people's new policies are. Do you understand what I'm saying? So right now, you basically, and I'm not casting any, I'm just explaining what it is. Don't have an opinion. But basically right now, you can basically allow an election to happen. Someone gets elected, you disagree with their views, policies, or whatever, and you can recall them for any, you know. And so, as opposed to waiting to the next election. Now, what the change would be is that, yeah, you can recall, but it has to be because they got a misdemeanor, they did something malfeasant in office, that they did some malfeasance in office, then you can recall. And that's the same level as the rest of the state would be, that's in the code right now. So it would put us in line with what the code section is for every other elected official almost in the state. This is unique to Portsmouth, our charter, where we do a lot of recalls. And and the city council, I think, has spoken. And I think the citizens, there are a lot of citizens who are against what the city council did, because I was listening. That's one of the issues that I did pay attention to. And we'll see. I think Senator Lucas is going to introduce it again. She introduced it last time. So we'll see.
Okay. Thanks.
And once again, please emphasize that it may not take effect until when?
Well, if it passed in this regular session and then we adjourned, then it would take effect probably in July. Or there can be or someone may put a clause in it to make it effective the following January. So it might have a delayed enactment. So there are ways that we can do 2 or 3 things at one time, and we'll see.
Mhm.
But that's the recall.
Yeah.
It's
Don, you made
local
some,
Portsmouth politics.
you
So you
made
That's
some,
straddling
why
what, Don?
that's why people wonder, like, Don, why y'all so tough in Portsmouth? I was like, have you been to Portsmouth? You can make it out of, if you come through Portsmouth politics, you can't be soft. You got to come through here. You'll be all right.
yeah. Don, you made some powerful speeches on the floor since you've been in there. And I'm just asking, how does that, and you mentioned earlier that a lot of the things you all vote on is unanimous, or, it's nonpartisan, well, not nonpartisan, but it's across the aisle. How do you think those speeches resonate with the Republicans in the House and even in the Senate? Because I know you're going to continue doing that, because sometimes you have to get to the consciousness of people, especially the one where you said you could see the ghosts in there, of the people past.
Yeah,
That was deep.
that speech that you're talking about now, I got a standing ovation from both sides of the
Yes.
house after that speech.
Mhm.
I think one of the things that I continue to say is that there are good people on both sides of the aisle. Okay. Most of the people that are serving, most, not all, the vast majority of the people that are serving for the right reasons.
Right.
They have genuine disagreements about big policy decisions. And we have to decide which policy decisions that we want to go, what direction. Now, to some people who are sensitive, I'm a trial lawyer, right? That's what I do. So I go hard every day, and I can walk out of there and go get a cup of coffee or a beer, which is no big deal after we get through arguing. I think we have some people who are still not mature enough, the governor being one of them, who is very thin-skinned. If you say something about him that is regarding a policy or a decision that he made, especially about going to Maine, which I think he owes the Commonwealth of Virginia an apology for going to, especially those people of color, because he will, when they did the MLK rollout, removing MLK and changing some of the history standards, I
Right.
called him out hard. And then I said, how soon before he's in a photo op with some black people? And a few hours later, he was at a gym in Petersburg or somewhere taking some pictures with some black kids.
Yeah.
That's what he does. That's what he does. And it drives me nuts that we give him this pass. I'm okay. I know he has black staff, and I want him to have black staff. We need to be in those rooms. Don't get me wrong. And we have black people who believe what he believes in some
Exactly.
respects, but I don't think they're not racist. They think that they're doing the right thing, and they just have genuine disagreement, which is okay. But can you tell this governor that it's not cool to be going to campaign with an avowed racist? It's not cool. It's not cool to go and campaign with election deniers. Someone needs to tell him. And since they're afraid to tell him sometimes, I have to stand up and give one of them floor speeches so I can empower him. And I can tell you, the Republicans will come up to me and agree with what I'm saying. He was wrong. And instead of him saying, you know what? And I know he's not going to admit he's wrong. They never admit they're wrong. But instead of him saying, let me pivot and move a different direction, he'll double down on that craziness. He had a health director who said that racism has no role to play in Black maternal health outcomes. Now, we know that's a lie.
Yes.
We know that it's been demonstrated, documented, that race plays a role in health disparities and the treatment that Black people get. There's documented evidence that some physicians, they need to be trained, that they literally believe Black people can endure more pain than white people. So they don't prescribe certain medications. Like, we know this to be true based on documented scientific evidence. So for the health department lead to say some stuff like that was a problem. He brought in a lady who said something about slavery was not the cause of the Confederates starting the Civil War, when the Confederate papers that they documented and voted on literally said that slavery is the reason that we're going to war. You know what I mean? They literally said those words in the document. We are going to war because slavery. Black people are inferior and they will never be equal to us, and they are built to be outside working, and God dang it, we going to war. I mean, so he had someone that he put on the board, on the historical board, somebody who was going to help us deal with historical resources, that said that slavery was not the cause of the Confederate War. There's all this other stuff. they states' rights and all this other stuff. We have to call that stuff out, and they don't like it. I feel obligated, Slim. I feel obligated. I can't look myself in the mirror if I don't call this stuff out. And sometimes those speeches are spontaneous and extemporaneous, and sometimes I may have written up some notes, but I can't let certain things go because I got to go home and look at them two Black women, or my Black wife and my daughter, 14-year-old, and look them in the eye. And I can't be up here mealy mouth and tiptoeing around the issues that's going to impact my daughter. And so while I'm there, I'm gonna say what I gotta say, and then until they send me home. And if they send me home, you know, I like my TV room. COVID made everybody get their TV room right. I see everybody got their TV. I see your TV in the background now watching MSNBC. But if COVID made you get your little study room right, where you can enjoy yourself and get comfortable, you got that recliner right there, you know. But that's what it did. So if I have to go home, I'm gonna go home on my own terms, being able to look in the mirror and look my daughter in the eye. That when her dad was here, he did not go along to get along.
Exactly.
He spoke truth to power. And
Yes.
so I can sleep at night. You know, I tell some people I just got to be able to sleep at night. And some things you have to say, but you know, some of those speeches, you'd be shocked. I've probably gotten, you know, and I don't do it for ovations because I'm always surprised how people are going to receive those speeches, because I chastise and I reward, and I'm always amazed that they've been pretty well received. And sometimes they made a little news when you call out the governor, and he got a little sensitive and came by my office.
Came by your office to see you.
Came to my little lowly delegate from Portsmouth. Been in office about 2 years. I'm tiptoeing over to my office, thinking I'm gonna apologize. Man, get up out of here.
Yep.
He don't know I'm from Portsmouth, man. What is he talking
You
about?
know how to fight.
We don't roll like that. We don't roll like that. We don't roll like that. I was shocked. I was like, that's all it took? Okay.
Now you're in good company. You're in good company because Judge Jones and Ken Melvin used to be good for that, getting up there and making those passionate speeches. So you're following in the footsteps of those guys, and keep it up. We appreciate you.
Thank
you. You know what? I got one thing to say. You know, you talk about the governor, he should apologize, but I don't want him to apologize, because an apology from him will be without substance, and it will be hollow. He'll just be apologizing to get over so I can get to the next election cycle, to placate the folks. And so I don't want an apology for him. Well, he is turned the light bulb on so people see him who he is. And so
yeah, and I hate to just point on the governor. I mean, they got a lot of you know, I got a lot of colleagues on the other side of the aisle who hold some crazy views. We got one or two of them that represented Trump to do it. He was an election denier, went down to Mar-a-Lago with Trump. We got a couple that were at the January 6th insurrection. They didn't go into the Capitol, but they were out there doing their thing. I don't know if they went in the Capitol. We don't have documented proof yet. But, you know, we have some people who have some crazy views, you know, crazier than him. I mean, and that's hard to do. But I think, you know, we're in a good place. You know, we have to continue to keep our eye on the prize. I think we got to continue to talk about what we do for people and what we believe in. You know, when we had those 2 years, you know, a lot of times, and I might lose my signal, y'all, but before I drop, I want to say something real quick. Democrats were in the minority for 20 years straight, 99 to 2019. Okay. We came in 2019, we got elected, took the majority, 55-45. Did some historic things, raised the minimum wage, you know, ended the death penalty that we know disproportionately impacts Black people, created ways for people, did criminal justice reform in light of the George Floyd death, tried to make our system fairer, created disparity studies so we can look and see how the police are impacting our communities, because we want public safety. People don't understand this. The Black community, we respect law enforcement a lot.
Oh, yeah.
We want good law enforcement. We just don't want to get beat up because we follow the law or get stopped. And so a lot of people get confused and say that we're pro law enforcement, but we're also pro accountability. You can be both, you know. And so, you know, I remember when I went to a civic league and people were talking about defund or something like that. And one of the ladies said, "Are you with them defund stuff?" And I said, "No, no, no, ma'am. I want to make sure that we have, safe streets and make sure our police are in. She said, "Good, because I ain't for that." And I said,
Uh-huh.
"That's Portsmouth right there. People want their communities to be safe. And if someone's doing something wrong, they want them to be held accountable. And I think everybody else does as well. And so I think, we 20 years straight, the House of Delegates was held by Republicans. Listen, during that time, Mark Warner was elected governor for 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
Tim Kaine was elected governor for 4
Mm-hmm.
years. Terry McAuliffe was elected governor
That's
for 4
right.
years. Ralph
Ralph
Northam
Northam.
was elected governor for 4 years. And 2 of those years, we were in the majority with him. You got to remember, Obama won Virginia twice, 8
Uh-huh.
years. During that 20 years, they kept the majority that whole time. There is no excuse for us to have lost the majority. None.
Mm-hmm.
All right. We have an opportunity now, I think, to win back the majority. And it's a historic opportunity to win a majority that is lasting beyond 2 years. That's what I'm working on, making sure that we do a long-term strategy. I know some people, some of y'all might have heard of George Soros. George
Yeah.
Soros, his folks, they probably spent 50 million, but they recently gave me $25,000 to my PAC. I have a
Uh-huh.
leadership PAC to get folks elected. And the Virginia GOP went crazy. "Oh, Don Scott, what did George
Yeah.
Soros do to control Don
Uh-huh.
Scott with
Uh-huh.
his
Uh-huh.
$25,000 contribution?" So they used to black folk being broke. I ain't broke, bro. All right, that's number one. that's no money, right? That's the good. The man gave 50 million. He gave me 25,000 out of the 50 million or whatever he contributed. It's not a lot, okay? But I'm grateful and thankful for it. But what they did was say Don is controlled by this ultra left-wing foreigner. That's the kind of stuff that they do. This man has been a citizen, George Soros has been a citizen since before I was born, okay,
Uh-huh.
of the United States. But they do this stuff, this anti-Semitic stuff. And so they tweeted it out about me because they saw it on, again, I had to report it. And then I said, and I tweeted back, "Delete this anti-Semitic filth." And guess what they did? By the next day, after a lot of going back and forth on Twitter, they deleted it. They had
Uh-huh.
never deleted anything like that. They deleted it because they knew they were wrong. And what my point is, you have to call these people out.
That's
When you
right.
sit back, they take silence as acquiescence. And if you hit me, I'm gonna hit you back. And if you hit me and it's a good lick, can I at least say ouch? I'm gonna say
Uh-huh.
ouch. So you know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I'm gonna say it loud. And I think what happens is they're used to people letting them get away with things, and I won't let them do it. And that's what I'm gonna continue to do to try to hold them accountable because the community that I come from, they need us fighting. And if we get the majority back, that's gonna be more that I can do for the city of Portsmouth. And that's what I'm trying to do.
But
Everything to
Don,
me is about how do I help the city of Portsmouth.
Don, we pray that you're successful in getting that majority back because we do need it. And I know that you said that your Wi-Fi is going out on you, but before you go, we have 2 young people from Portsmouth who will go up to the General Assembly as pages
That's
this
right.
coming year. And
That's right.
that's just amazing. 2 young African Americans, Solomon Ashby's son, as well as Yolanda Thomas's son. That's really good. I'm happy to see that these young people will have an opportunity to serve as a page in the General Assembly in this coming year.
And it's open to any citizen. I mean, I tell folks to go online and look. It's not just for those who are connected, even though in this
Right.
case these are people. It's not just for folks who have titles and positions. It's for everybody. If your child is eligible and they look at the child's civic participation, how they're doing in school, whether they can handle being away from home because they have to be a self-starter to get the work done, and then they get selected. I'm not the selector in the House. It's the Speaker who selects. And in the Senate, it's I believe it's the President Pro Tem, Senator Lucas, who is involved with the final decision, and Dick Saslaw, the majority leader. But
But
it's a
the
great
important thing
opportunity.
is to have people to realize that your child can be eligible. Your child
Yes,
child will need to apply. The
that's right.
child will need to have good grades in school, a
Mhm,
self-starter, and
mhm,
because they will be out of school during that time in which they're
mhm,
working with the General Assembly,
mhm,
they will have someone there to help them, to tutor them throughout the day. But it's a good learning experience for our
mhm,
young people, and so those of you out there, check out the requirements to become a page for the House and for the Senate in the Virginia General Assembly, and see if your child is eligible to apply
mhm.
next time. to become a page. That's really good.
Very diverse group, boys and girls. They have to keep their assignments. They have a published assignments for school so they can keep up with their work. They have tutors. They have folks that look over, watch, make sure that they're getting their work done. And it's a fun experience for those kids. I mean, I just watch the kids and what they learn and who they kind of relate to. It's kind of very interesting. You know, they sit on both sides of the aisles. So they sit on the Republican side, they sit on the Democratic side, and so they kind of get to see everything. It's I can kind of see how the kids kind of get to see government in action, and it makes them less intimidated, you know, by the process if they're exposed to that.
But Don, we want to thank you for coming on, and it's so important for people to be aware of what's going on statewide as well as local, because a lot of things trickle down from the state and directly affect us locally. And, you know, there's opportunities for people to come to the state capitol on certain issues. Briefly, tell about that, or well, where they can go to find out issues or bills that are coming up that might interest them, where they can come and voice their opinions or voice their opinions on a particular bill, because you all do listen.
We've made it easier than ever for people to participate in the legislative process. You can go to the Legislative Information Services website, lis.gov. You can Google it, LIS, Legislative Information Services. You can look at all of the committees for the House and the Senate. You can look at the bills on it. You can look at the bills. You can look at each bill. You can, if the bill is in a committee, you can look at the schedule of committee meetings. If a bill is in a committee, you can link up, sign up to testify, even via Zoom now on a bill. And you can, or you can come up to Richmond. I think coming up has a powerful impact. I mean, it tells people that you're interested. I mean, and I know that a lot of people can't come. That's why they sent me. You know, they can't come. They looking for me. You know, one of the guys in front of Lakeview Elementary School told me that one time. I was like, he was telling me about this thing he cared about. And I was like, well, you need to come up and testify. And he was like, that's why I sent you. I was like, good point. You know, so there's a lot of ways to participate. There's a lot of ways to show your strength. You know, some of these groups come up together, and I'm always grateful and proud to see Portsmouth groups come up. I think Cardell Patello brought a group of kids up 1 year. That was like my first year. That was so fun. We went over, took him. I got him in with the governor, with the kids. It was cool, and the first lady at that time, Pam Northam. So anytime you get groups of kids that can come up on MLK Day, because school is out sometimes, because we're not out, we're in session on MLK. So it's so cool to see citizens participating, because that's the essence of the democratic process. It's not just for the rich and powerful and the connected, it's for everybody. And hopefully people stay involved and stay engaged. Thank y'all for having me this morning. It was a pleasure.
Thank you, Don. And go
on,
there and let us know what you hear and what you see.
I will.
Please. You know, last thing, my granddaughter worked with the U.S. Attorney's Office over the summer. So she got a chance to sit in on some of the January 6th hearings. So I'm going to let her know that you're actually going to sit in on the final decision making process. And that is such an honor.
Yeah, I'm excited to be here. So we'll see what happens.
You're gonna have to come back on to share with us all that you heard and all that you saw during that time frame.
Let's do that. Let's do it. We can do something during session one day.
Yeah, we have some little short sessions with you and Louis.
That'll work.
Nadarius, you know, just keep us up informed. Colonel, did you have a last comment you'd like to?
Yeah, well, I say, Don, thank you for coming on, and thank you for the work that you're doing and will continue to do. But I have a message for those out there in electron lands across the Commonwealth and across this country. And I will say that the only power that you have to continue the work or either change the way things are going in this country down to your city block, up and down, all the way up to the national level, is the power to vote. And if you don't exercise that power to vote, then you really don't have you've given away your voice, and you don't have a right to complain, because you need to participate in the electoral process and also in our democracy. Because our democracy is at stake the way things are going in this country, because we have these election deniers, and we have these autocratic leaders that want to establish and to put themselves back into power or in power. And so the right to vote is the most precious thing that you have. I spent 36 years in the military, and sometimes I shudder to the direction this country has gone, and where we're heading. And so I just hopefully that people step up and exercise that right to vote, because that's the only power we have. And so I'll close it at that.
And
Thank
Don,
you, Colonel.
thank you so
Really
very
respect it.
much. We
Portsmouth Coffee
appreciate
Talk
you.
is here for our voice,
Our community.
In our future.
We
and we
salute you,
salute you,
Don.
Don. Thank you.
Y'all
Thank you
have a
for
good
all
one.
that you
Take care.
do.
Take care.
Keep
All
that
right,
light
bye-bye.
shining.
Yes.
I will.
Okay, folks. I'm running this morning.
Mhm. You're on live. You're still recording.